Welcome back to Podcast That Book. So glad to have you here for another deep dive.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good one, I think.
Yeah.
This one is all about how companies can really thrive in this crazy age of digital everything and AI.
Yeah, everyone's talking about it, right?
It's everywhere you look. And the book we're diving into is called Rewired.
By McKinsey experts.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And they get into like what really makes the difference between those companies that are leading the pack digitally and those that are, well, maybe falling behind a little bit.
Yeah, and one of the things I thought was really interesting is they found it's not just about adopting the latest tech.
Right.
It's much more than that. It's really like a whole new way of thinking, like rewiring your whole business model.
Yeah, totally. That's actually one of the big things that jumped out at me, too. They actually found in their research that these digital leaders, they're not just doing better when it comes to tech, but
Across the board.
yeah, like every part of their business is performing better, almost like they've figured out some secret level.
Mm-hmm.
So how do they do it? What's the magic formula? Well, Rewired lays out 6 key things these digital leaders have all mastered.
And you need all 6, right? It's like they're all equally important.
Yeah, it's not like a pick and choose situation.
Yeah.
You got to kind of nail all 6 to really get that sustainable advantage over everyone else.
That's what they found. Yeah.
Okay, so let's break these 6 down one by one. First up, we've got the digital roadmap, and this is where things start to feel really strategic, right?
Oh, yeah. It's not just throwing tech at the wall and seeing what sticks. It's about actually having a clear vision for where you want to go and how digital can get you there.
Right, exactly. And Rewired, they have a very specific process for creating this roadmap.
Yeah, so you start by figuring out what they call high-value domains. These are the parts of your business where digital can have the biggest impact, the places where you can really move the needle.
Okay, so thinking about it practically, if you were like a retailer, a high-value domain might be the online shopping experience or how you manage your supply chain and logistics.
Exactly, yeah, like where can digital give you a real edge over your competitors?
Right, okay, and once you've figured out those key areas, then what?
Then you got to get specific, right?
Yeah.
So that's when you develop what they call detailed use cases. Basically, you map out exactly how you're going to use digital to hit your goals.
Look at the blueprint.
Yeah, exactly.
You got the big picture, and then you zoom in on all those little actions and technologies.
Right.
It'll make it a reality.
100%.
I love how Rewired gives us a real-world example of this. They talk about an insurance company that wants to make it easier for people to sign up, streamline that whole onboarding process.
Oh, yeah, I hate those forms.
It's the worst. So much paperwork, back and forth, waiting forever.
Ugh, yeah.
But they can look at that process through this digital lens, find those pain points, and come up with digital solutions to make it super smooth and easy.
Like you could have automated credit checks, instant approvals, maybe even a chatbot to answer questions anytime, day or night.
I would love a chatbot.
Yeah, way better than being on hold forever, right?
Definitely. So much better. Okay, so we've got the plan. We've got all these fancy new digital solutions, but there's a catch.
Yeah.
You need the right people to make it all happen.
And that's where things get tricky.
Oh, yeah. And Rewired really highlights this challenge. Finding and keeping those top-notch digital folks, it's tough.
It's brutal out there. It's a total war for talent, and the old way of doing things just doesn't cut it.
It's like everyone's scrambling for that same tiny group of amazing developers and data scientists.
Yeah, the competition is fierce.
So how do companies win this war for talent? How do you even stand out?
Well, Rewired has this really cool idea. They call it a talent win room.
Oh, okay. What's that?
It's basically a team or even a whole department that's focused on nothing but attracting and keeping those digital superstars.
So it's like going way beyond just posting a job online and hoping for the best.
Right. You're being proactive, going out and finding the best of the best, the people who are passionate about all things digital and who really connect with your company's vision.
And I'm guessing it also means creating a company culture where those people want to stick around.
Oh, yeah, that's huge. Competitive pay is important, of course, but you also need things like flexible schedules, chances to learn and grow, and a culture where people feel valued for their ideas.
So basically you're creating the digital dream job, right?
Pretty much. You want people to be excited to come to work, to feel challenged and inspired to do their best stuff.
Okay, so let's say you've got your roadmap in place and you've built this amazing team of digital rock stars. What's next? How does the work actually get done?
Well, this is where Rewired gets into the idea of agile operating models.
Agile. Everyone's talking about agile these days.
For good reason. It's all about being fast, flexible, and responsive. It's about breaking down those old school silos and having small cross-functional teams that can move quickly and deliver value quickly.
So instead of those long, drawn-out development cycles, you're constantly testing things out, learning, and adapting along the way.
Exactly. Rewired is really big on what they call agile pods.
Pods.
Yeah. They're these small, self-contained teams that have all the skills and resources they need to design, build, and launch digital solutions. It's like a little mini startup within your company.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So this little team can make decisions and get things done fast without having to deal with a ton of bureaucracy.
Exactly. And it works. Like DBS Bank, they fully embraced Agile across their entire organization.
A whole bank went agile.
Yeah, and they've seen amazing results. They can launch new digital products and services way faster now.
Wow. So they basically turned a traditional bank into this nimble digital powerhouse.
Pretty much, yeah. That's the real power of Agile. It lets you adapt quickly, experiment, and innovate in ways that just weren't possible with the old ways of doing things.
But it can't be as easy as just throwing a bunch of people together and calling it a pod, right?
Oh, no. You need the right people, the right mix of skills and personalities, and you really got to be clear about everyone's roles.
And Rewired talks about that.
Yeah. They stress that you got to empower those teams to make decisions, to really own what they're working on.
Like assembling a team of superheroes.
Exactly. Yeah. You need everyone to have the right powers and to be working together to save the day.
And in this case, the day is your company's digital future, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And speaking of superheroes, Rewired highlights one role that's super important in these agile pods: the product owner.
Oh, yeah. They're critical.
So what exactly does a product owner do?
They're like the mini CEO of their pod. They set the vision for their product, decide which features are most important, and make sure the team is building something that users will love.
So they're kind of like the voice of the customer within that agile team.
Yeah, and they keep everyone on track, make sure the team is building the right thing in the right way.
Okay, so we've got agile teams, we've got product owners, but what about the actual tech?
Well, that's obviously a key part of this whole thing, right?
I mean, it is called digital transformation.
Exactly. Rewired goes into some of those key tech concepts that companies need to get their heads around.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's get technical.
Okay, so one of the big ones is decoupled architecture.
Now, I'll admit, that sounds a bit intimidating.
I know, right? But it's actually a pretty simple idea. It's basically about breaking down your big, complicated systems into smaller, independent pieces that can all talk to each other.
Okay, so like Legos, you have all these different pieces, but you can put them together in different ways to build all kinds of things.
That's a perfect analogy.
And this modular approach, why is that so important in today's world?
Because it gives you so much more flexibility and makes it easier to scale things up. You can add new features or connect to other systems without having to rebuild the whole thing from scratch.
It's like having a Swiss Army knife, adaptable to any situation.
Yeah, exactly. And it's super important when you're moving to the cloud, which is kind of the foundation for most digital transformations these days.
Oh yeah, the cloud. Everyone's moving to the cloud. What's the big deal?
Well, it gives you insane flexibility and scalability. You can spin up new servers in seconds, add more storage, access all these crazy services, all with a few clicks.
Like having an unlimited IT department at your beck and call?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Plus, it's often way more secure and has better disaster recovery capabilities.
Sounds like a win-win.
But moving to the cloud is a big deal. You can't just do it overnight. Rewired recommends a strategic approach, Start with those high-value domains, the areas where you'll see the biggest benefit right away.
So don't just blindly move everything. Be smart about it.
Exactly. And there are different types of cloud, right? Public, private, hybrid. You got to pick the one that makes sense for your business and your security needs.
It's like finding the perfect cloud-shaped puzzle piece for your overall IT strategy.
Yeah, and once you're there, you got to build out those cloud management systems too. Optimize your costs, monitor your security, manage performance.
Sounds like tending a garden.
Right. Got to keep those cloud resources healthy and productive. It is kind of like that. And speaking of tending a garden, let's talk about that whole software development process.
Okay, so how do we actually go from like a blueprint to a real working digital product? Are there any must-follow principles?
Well, Rewired is all about those agile software development methodologies like we talked about before.
Right, breaking down those huge projects into smaller pieces, working in short bursts, and constantly getting feedback.
Exactly. And Rewired, they point out some key engineering practices that make agile really work. One of them is version control systems.
Okay, that sounds kind of technical.
It is a little, but it's basically a way for developers to track all the changes they make to the code, work together easily, and even go back to older versions if they need to.
So if you mess something up, you can just undo it.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like having a giant undo button for your whole project.
Love that.
What else?
Automated testing is another big one. It's basically like having a digital quality control team that's constantly checking your code for errors and bugs.
So only the best stuff gets released.
Yeah, exactly. You catch those problems early before they become a big headache.
It's like those robots on an assembly line that scan for defects. Except in this case, they're scanning code, not gadgets.
Huh, yeah. Perfect analogy. Rewired also talks about continuous integration and continuous delivery, or CI/CD. It basically automates the whole process of building, testing, and releasing your software.
Okay, so it's like an assembly line that never stops, just constantly churning out new versions.
That's the idea, yeah. Makes the whole process much faster and smoother.
All right, so now we've got this amazing software development machine up and running. But what about the developers themselves? How do we make sure they're equipped to do their best work?
Right, so Rewired talks about building a developer platform.
A developer platform, what's that? It's basically like a central hub that gives developers everything they need to build, test, and release their code. Think of it like a digital workshop with all the best tools and services.
Okay, so it's not just giving them the building blocks, it's also giving them the right tools and the space to create.
Exactly. And the platform should be designed for self-service and automation. Developers should be able to spin up new environments, access tools, and release code without jumping through hoops or waiting on other teams.
Empowering them to just do their thing, build amazing software.
Exactly. These platforms, they're often called IDPs for internal developer platforms, and they really streamline the process by hiding a lot of that complicated stuff under the hood.
It's like having a personal assistant for every developer.
Yeah, taking care of all the boring stuff so they can focus on the creative, strategic work.
Speaking of creative and strategic, we got to talk about AI.
It's everywhere these days.
It's like the magic ingredient everyone wants to sprinkle on everything.
And it is transforming digital transformations, but it's not always easy.
Yeah, building and deploying AI, especially at scale, can be super challenging. Rewired talks about some of those challenges.
Yeah, like data. AI algorithms need tons and tons of data to learn, and it has to be good quality data, too. You got to clean it, label it, and prepare it in all the right ways.
It's like feeding a giant beast.
Right. You got to keep those AI algorithms well fed with data, and finding and preparing that data, that's a big job in itself.
And then you need the right people to build those AI models.
Oh, yeah. Data scientists, machine learning engineers. They're like unicorns these days.
It's so hard to find.
They're in high demand for sure.
And even if you find them, there's still those technical challenges of actually deploying and managing AI in a real-world setting.
Yeah, for sure. It's not like you can just set it up and forget about it. You have to keep an eye on those AI models, retrain them, update them, make sure they're still working properly.
That sounds complicated.
It is, and that's where MLOps comes in.
MLOps? What's that? Sounds like some kind of secret code.
Kinda, yeah. It stands for Machine Learning Operations. Think of it like DevOps, but for machine learning.
Okay, so it's about bringing that same discipline and automation to the AI world that we've brought to traditional software development.
Exactly, yeah. Rewired says MLOps is a must-have for companies that want to use AI at scale to really weave it into everything they do.
So AI, data, it's all connected, right?
Totally. And speaking of data, it's the lifeblood of any digital transformation. But a lot of companies, they struggle to manage it effectively.
I can see how that would be a problem. Rewired talks about this, right?
Oh, yeah. They say companies are drowning in data but starving for insights.
So much data, but they don't know how to use it.
Yeah, like having a pantry full of food but no idea how to cook.
So what's the solution? How do companies get their data under control and actually start using it to their advantage?
Rewired has a whole section on achieving what they call data mastery. First, you need a robust data platform, a central hub where you can bring all your data together, clean it up, and get it ready for analysis.
So it's like a data processing plant, taking in all this raw material and turning it into something useful.
That's a great way to put it. And then you need data governance.
Data governance. What's that?
It's basically about setting up rules and processes for how you handle data, how you collect it, store it, use it, You need to make sure everyone's on the same page and that data is treated responsibly.
Right, because data is powerful, but it can be misused.
Absolutely. And finally, Rewired talks about creating a data-driven culture where everyone understands the importance of data and feels empowered to use it to make better decisions.
So it's not just about the tech, it's about the mindset.
Totally. And when you have that, data becomes a real strategic asset for your company, a way to set yourself apart from the competition.
All right, so we've talked about the tech, the talent, the data.
Yeah.
But even if you get all of that right, what if people aren't actually using these amazing digital solutions you've created?
Yeah, that's a good point. Adoption and scaling, that's where it gets real. You can build the most incredible solution, but if people aren't using it, it's worthless.
Rewired gives us some advice on how to overcome those challenges, right?
They do. One of the big things is designing solutions that are intuitive and user-friendly.
Makes sense. If it's too complicated, people will just give up.
Exactly. You want to make it easy for people to embrace those new tools and processes. You also got to provide good training and support so people can learn quickly.
And it's important to celebrate those early wins, right? The people who are using the new solutions and seeing success.
Yeah, totally. They can be your champions, spread the word, and help create momentum. And when it comes to scaling, Rewired says you should design for reusability and adaptability right from the start.
So it's not just about solving one specific problem in one department.
Right. You want to create solutions that can be used in different parts of the business, adapted for different needs.
Like those Legos again?
Yeah. And you need a clear process for replicating those solutions, for sharing best practices and lessons learned across the organization.
So it's not just about doing it once. It's about building a system that can be repeated and improved over time.
That's the idea. And of course, you have to track the right metrics as you're scaling those solutions. Make sure you're actually seeing results and that you can adjust your approach as needed.
It's all about that constant feedback loop, that mindset of continuous improvement.
Exactly. We've talked about the technology, the data, the processes, but at the end of the day, digital transformation is really about people.
Oh, absolutely. You can have the best tech in the world, but if you don't have the right people and the right culture, it won't matter.
Rewired is very clear on this. You got to create a culture of trust, collaboration, and continuous learning.
A culture where people feel safe to try new things, take risks, and learn from their mistakes. Without that, people will be afraid to change.
Exactly. Rewired has a whole framework for building that kind of culture. It starts with leadership, making sure everyone's on board, and having open communication channels so people can share their ideas.
So digital transformation is a team sport.
Yeah. Everyone needs to feel like they're part of the process.
And when you get that right, that's when the magic really happens.
That's when you unlock real innovation and agility.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Roadmaps, talent, data, agile, culture. It's a lot to take in.
It is. But Rewired does a great job of breaking it down into manageable pieces and giving you practical advice.
It's like they've given us a roadmap for navigating this crazy digital world.
And it's helpful to see how other companies have done it, right?
Yeah, like who are these digital trailblazers? Give us some examples.
Rewired has some really inspiring stories, like DBS Bank. They went from a traditional bank in Singapore to a global leader in digital banking.
That's amazing. How'd they pull that off?
Well, they really focused on that customer experience, redesigned all their stuff from scratch to be simple, fast, easy to use.
So they really got that whole digital first thing. Like people today, they want things to be instant on demand.
Yeah, exactly. And they didn't just change how things looked for the customer. They revamped their whole internal way of working, too. Went all in on Agile, empowered their teams to move fast and experiment.
Sounds like they took that rewiring idea seriously. Changed their whole culture.
Yeah, they did. And data, too. They got really serious about data analytics and AI, used it to personalize everything, make their operations more efficient, even predict what customers would want before they even knew it.
That's next level. So they're not just reacting to what's happening now, they're trying to stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly. DBS Bank is a great example of how a traditional company can totally reinvent itself.
Okay, so we've got a bank. What about other industries? Any cool examples there?
Rewired also talks about Freeport-McMoRan, a mining company that's been around for over 100 years.
Mining. That's not exactly what I think of when I hear digital transformation.
I know, right? But they've actually done some really cool stuff with digital. They're using AI and data analytics to optimize their mining operations, improve safety, all that.
So even those old school industries can benefit from this stuff.
Yeah, any industry can. And they did it by building a culture that embraces innovation, They let their employees experiment with new technologies, brought in outside experts to help them.
It's a good reminder that it's not just about the tech, it's about the people, how they think, how they work together.
Totally. And speaking of culture, Rewired has a whole section on the Lego group.
Lego.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love Lego?
They've really embraced digital in a fun, creative way. They're using tech to build these immersive, interactive experiences for their customers, both online and in person.
So it's not just about selling Lego bricks anymore.
Nope. It's about creating this whole digital world around those bricks, where kids can connect, build, share their creations.
That's awesome.
They've got online games, virtual building platforms, even augmented reality stuff that makes your Lego creations come to life. And they've done it all while staying true to their core values, that sense of playfulness and imagination.
It's a great example of how digital transformation can be about more than just making money. It can be about creating something truly meaningful for people.
Yeah, it's about connecting with people on a deeper level.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Rewired, what are the big takeaways for our listeners? What should they keep in mind as they're thinking about their own digital journeys?
Well, first off, remember that digital transformation, it's a journey, not a destination.
It's not something you do overnight.
Exactly. You got to be in it for the long haul, ready to learn and adapt and keep pushing forward.
It's about constantly evolving.
Yeah, and don't forget, technology is just a tool. It's the people, the culture that really makes the difference.
So invest in your teams, build a culture that supports innovation.
And don't be afraid to experiment. Digital transformation is all about trying new things, making mistakes, and learning from them.
Embrace that agile mindset.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's all about the customer, right?
Right. Listen to them, understand their needs, and use technology to create amazing experiences.
I think that's a great way to sum it up.
Well said. So to our listeners, if you're feeling inspired to rewire your company or even just your own career, definitely check out Rewired by Eric Lamar, Kate Smaj, and Rodney Zemmel.
It's packed with great insights and practical advice.
A must-read for anyone who wants to succeed in today's digital world.
Definitely.
Well, thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive into Rewired.
It was great to be here.
And to all our listeners, keep learning, keep growing, keep rewiring. We'll see you next time.